Hello, everybody. Eric here with my best of 2022. Uh, I picked 10 books. They're not going to be in any order, and I'm not even sure how accurate this is. It's harder to remember the stuff that I read back in January, a year ago. Um, and there was so much good stuff that I read this past year. So I'm going to talk about the 10 that really stand out to me, but I'm also going to throw in some other things, some other of my favorite things of 2022. And now a lot of these books are buried when I read something because of how many books I have and the small amount of space I have. The stuff I've read ends up going behind things or under things because I've already read them. I don't need to access them. So I don't have any covers to show you. You're gonna have to live with that, folks, because I'm not even sure where all of these are. I'd have to dig them out someday. All this is going to get organized, but today is not that day. So I have my little notebook here of all the books I've read. This one is from 2005 to present. And there's going to be some honorable mentions and maybe some things. But here we go. This is my list. I put some little highlighters on there. And the first one that's going to be on my list of my top 10 books for 2022, I read in April, and that is Such a Pretty Smile by Christy DeMeester. I thought this was such a fantastic book. Mother-daughter generational trauma/horror. Well written, very interesting characters. The mystery just keeps going. Don't know exactly what's happening. Really, really good. I am very much looking forward to her next book, and I went and bought, after I read this, I bought some of her older works, I believe. She has older works. But Such a Pretty Smile. I just picked it up at Barnes & Noble and really, really impressed with it. As I said, I can't wait to see what she does next. Then the next one that I have marked was in June. And again, so obviously I'm going just in chronological order. Again, not from like 10 to 1. This is just where we're at. So the next thing on the list is Classic Monsters Unleashed, edited by James Aquilone. This was a Kickstarter initially, and I backed it on Kickstarter because it is an anthology of brand new stories by a bunch of great authors using the classic, mostly Universal monsters. I think there might be some in there that weren't necessarily Universal, but you've got stories about, the Bride of Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster, the Wolf Man, the Invisible Man, I think. Just different, interesting takes. Some of them from the monster's point of view. Some of them give us, not necessarily from the monster's point of view, but a different perspective on their stories. Really, really good stuff. I'm a huge fan of Universal Monsters, and I like what the authors did. I think James Aquilone put together a great anthology. Plus, I got a t-shirt and prints and stuff because I backed it. But that's neither here nor there. It's still a solid collection. All right, before we get to the books, I don't know if I have enough stuff to, like, every 2 books if I do a different thing. But for those of you who watch my comics pull list videos, you've heard me say many, many times that I am way behind on reading my comics. So I wanted to pick my favorite comic of 2022, but I'm so far behind, it was difficult simply because I haven't read everything that I have. I may be a year behind, but there are some things that I put at the top of the pile. And so, this might not be the best thing that came out. It might not be the best thing in the pile, but this is the best thing from 2022 that I read, or at least my favorite. Again, simply because I'm so far behind. And I pulled out, I had to dig a little bit. I did a little digging to pull out the first issue cover so as not to spoil anything with later issue covers. And this is a book I actually have not read the last issue. It just came out a couple weeks ago. But my choice, a series that I really loved in 2022, is DC versus Vampires. And there you can see Batman and Green Arrow fighting a bunch of vampires. It's a 12-issue miniseries. There were also 2 one-shots and a 6-issue offshoot series that didn't necessarily fill in holes, but expanded the story. I think you could read this without reading the other stuff, which is why I say I don't think it filled in any holes. It just sort of expanded, went into a little more detail on some things. But I really enjoyed this. I know there's some people that didn't think it worked that well, but I liked the art. I like, it's horror and superheroes. I had a good time with it. So that's and again, this is from a very limited well of comic books because I'm so far behind. But I went with DC versus Vampires. All right, back to books. And so the next thing I have on this list is We Are Here to Hurt Each Other by Paula D. Ashe. This is a short story collection, and it was just incredible. It's dark and it's poetic. It's not poetry. It's lyrical. The writing reminiscent of Clive Barker and others that I can't name because I'm not that knowledgeable of everybody. But just a fantastic, moving, disturbing collection of short stories. There was one line that I still might get tattooed somewhere on myself. And again, this is another author, Paula D. Ashe. I just look forward to more of their work. Just fantastic. We Are Here to Hurt Each Other by Paula D. Ashe. Really, really good stuff. All right, let's turn the page. And next up, another short story collection. And this one is A Bouquet of Viscera by Bridget Nelson. An amazing short story collection. And she recently on social media, Bridget Nelson posted some sort of meme or something about how, how could somebody so nice write such horrible things? And yeah, there are some horrible, horrible things in this book. There's one story in particular that really, I loved it. Some people hated it simply because of what it did and where it went. A lot of this are stories of revenge, but they're all very different. There's natural stuff, there's supernatural stuff. Again, an author who I'm looking forward to whatever they're doing next. A Bouquet of Viscera by Bridget Nelson was fantastic. And all right, so that's 2 more. Let's jump to the next non-book thing. I guess I can set that there, hopefully. All right, so yeah, I don't think I have enough non-book things. I did this wrong. But my favorite game. I am a board gamer. I've talked about this before, I believe. And a lot of fun stuff came out this year. There's a Star Wars, The Clone Wars, a Pandemic System game that's really, really a lot of fun. There's a mass market Marvel Zombies Zombicide game, $35. That's really a lot of fun as I wait for the giant Kickstarter Marvel Zombies Zombicide game, but that was fun. Starship Captains I just picked up. But just for production alone, one might pick this as the best game or favorite game of 2022. But it's a great game. It's not just the production, and I'm going to show you some of that production, but it's a great game. And that is, here's the lid, My Father's Work. My Father's Work. And this is a story-driven, app-driven game. It's a worker placement game. And you're playing through 3 generations of mad scientists continuing your father's work, and then he's your grandfather, then your great-grandfather, etc. But every generation, essentially, you lose almost everything that you've accumulated in that generation. At the end of the generation, it's almost all gone, and you have to start almost from scratch. There are 3 scenario packs that come with this. Excuse me. And so you could take the first scenario pack, play it 4 times, and it's going to be different every time. You might not even see everything that comes in the box because of the app that takes care of the story and all this stuff for you. Some of it is not random. It's based on the decisions you make and what you do during the game, but some of it is random. Basically, which part of the story it's going to tell at the very beginning. You've chosen this scenario pack. Well, it's got a number of beginnings, I guess. But there's a spiral-bound book that has the town on all the different pages. Again, based on the decisions you make, the next generation, it says, flip to this page. This is what the town looks like now. But the biggest thing, and the app is really cool, and a lot of stuff is public knowledge, but there are instances when you have to make private decisions, so you got to read the app. Don't let anybody else look at it. But, all right, let's see. I want to take this lid off, but then I'm afraid I don't know how well I can show this. I don't want to dump anything. But, yeah, see, things are... Can you see these components? Here, I'll take some out. First of all, there's a whole bunch. Maybe I won't take one out and show you. There we go. There's a whole bunch of these. It's got an actual cork in the top. And these are just resources. You gather these and then you'll trade them in for different things. You've got a bunch of these metal coins. There's 1s and 5s. You've got a bunch of these metal gears, and there's different gears. They're the same thing, but you have a choice. And then there's a bunch of these little wooden coffins, just little tokens. And again, there's a couple different designs. But then you have these little animal tokens, and every single one of them is different. I don't know exactly how many there are, but whereas the coffins, there might be 4 different designs, so you have like 5 of each or whatever. And the same with the cogs, the little metal cogs. Every single little animal token is a different animal. Here's one of my favorites. So cute. Little froggy. Cute little froggy. Yeah, so the components for this are just amazing, and it's fun. Once you know what you're doing, I don't think it takes too long. So that's My Father's Work, my favorite game of 2022. All right, let's get back to the books. And let's see, where were we? Okay, this one, I tried to go with all books that came out in 2022. I'm not 100% sure that that's accurate, and this is one I'm not sure when it initially came out, but it's Bullet Train by Kotaro Asaka. And this is the novel that was the basis for the Brad Pitt movie, and it is just a rollicking, funny action-packed good time. You have all these criminal figures, these assassins, these different people on the bullet train. Every once in a while, something takes place off the bullet train, but almost all of it's on the bullet train, and it's an action-packed comedy of errors kind of thing. Things get swapped, things go missing, people are looking for this, looking for that. Oh, something bad happened, we got to keep that covered up. Really, really fantastic book. Bullet Train, Kotaro Isaka. Next up, we have The Devil Takes You Home by Gabino Iglesias. This his latest work, and again, this was amazing. This is such a dark, dark book. From the start, he just kicks you in the crotch and then doesn't let you up from the ground. But it's horror, it's noir, it's crime, and it's just amazing characters, a compelling story, and very, very dark, but fantastic. Another author, always excited to see whatever Gabino Iglesias is doing. All right, we're gonna do some more, another one at least, before I move on to something else. So next up is Reluctant Immortals by Gwendolyn Kist. And this is a book that the main characters are Lucy Westenra from Dracula, and then I do not remember the name of the woman from Jane Eyre, but it's not Jane Eyre. So they are in, I believe it's 1960s California, and still being hounded by the assholes from Dracula and Jane Eyre, for lack of a better way to put it. But they're essentially a couple of immortal characters just trying to live their lives and getting messed with by Dracula and the guy from Jane Eyre, again, whose name I don't remember. I read Jane Eyre a long time ago. I thought it was boring as hell. But Gwendolyn Kist actually makes me tempted to go back and give it another try, because Reluctant Immortals is well written, interesting, fantastic characters. What she does with Lucy Westenra and this other character who I don't remember from Jane Eyre, really, really fun. I wouldn't mind seeing other books like this. I do have other Gwendolyn Kist to read, which is always exciting. Is it just me, or is it a downer when you've read everything by an author you really like, and then you just gotta wait? Oh, when are they going to put something else out? Well, I've got some backup for Gwendolyn Kist, which is exciting. But Reluctant Immortals, really, really good. All right, there's 3 left, so I do not have anything to show you. Excuse me. But let's talk about my favorite movies of 2022. I didn't see a lot, so some people, this might be very controversial. We will see. Because I just didn't get out to the movies. 95% of the time I'm going to choose reading over watching TV or watching movies. But I did make it a point to see a few things. Excuse me just a moment. So, numbers 2 and 3 are in no particular order. And those would be Nope by Jordan Peele. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I thought it had wonderful performances. It was maybe a little long. There is one scene that definitely I felt went on too long. But overall, really, really entertaining movie. There were some surprises in it that I didn't see coming. I do think it is the weakest so far of his 3 films, but that's like, saying that this gift card that I have with only $499 on it isn't as good as this gift card that has $500 on it. All 3 of his movies I think are fantastic. I just think of those three, Nope was my least favorite, but it was still a fantastic movie. And then the other movie in the 2 or 3 spot, again, I'm not judging them, is Prey, the Predator prequel, debuted on Hulu. Takes place back in the day. I believe Amber Midthunder is the name of the actor who stars in it, and it's a predator dealing with a Dakota tribe and some French fur trappers. But it I feel went back to what made the original Predator movies such a good movie. And again, great performances. I watched it in English. I would like to see the Dakota version. And I don't think it's out on Blu-ray yet. Hopefully it'll be coming out. And hopefully when it does, I assume it's not out because I don't have it. But I'm hoping they'll have the Dakota. There's a version of it that's all in Dakota. But really, really a good top 2, in my opinion, Predator movie. It's up there with the original. But the movie that I'm choosing for my favorite of 2022, I don't know that controversial is the right word, but I know a lot of people that absolutely loved it. And then there are those people that are just like, I don't get it. I don't know why. Not that they don't get the movie. They don't get the love for the movie. They didn't enjoy it. Or maybe they thought it was okay. They didn't get why so many people were raving about it. And that is Barbarian. I loved Barbarian. And I think we need more comedians making horror movies. You've got Jordan Peele, who first came to my attention when he was on Mad TV. And then he had Key and Peele, and he did things like Keanu. He's in that comedy movie, and he's making great horror. And now you've got Barbarian, which was written and directed by, I don't know the guy's name off the top of my head, but he was in The Whitest Kids You Know, and he starred in the comedy series Wrecked, which was on TBS, which I thought was hilarious. It was an ensemble cast, but if you had to pick a main character, I think he would be the one. He was very funny, and then he gives us Barbarian. I don't want to say too much about it because most people, I think, agree that you should go into it blind if you haven't seen it. You want to go into it without knowing too much about it. I had seen a teaser for it, but that didn't really give anything away, thank goodness. And so I saw it as soon as I could. And yeah, it's got stuff. I don't want to say, but I really, really enjoyed it. Such a fantastic movie. And again, there's plenty that came out that I just did not see. I think Terrifier 2 came out in 2022. I haven't seen it yet. I own it now. As soon as it came out on Blu-ray, I picked it up. And I will say Halloween Ends, I don't hate it. I actually enjoyed it. Obviously, I didn't put it in my top 3, but I like that the writers and the director, tried something different. Is it the best Halloween movie ever? No, not at all. But I don't think it's a horrible movie. I enjoyed it. So I'm going to throw that out there. I have it. I bought the Blu-ray. I want all those special features. Yeah, Barbarian. Absolutely my favorite for 2022, with Prey and Nope very close behind. All right, let's get back to the books. There's only a few more. 3 more. So, we have This Is Where We Talk Things Out by Caitlin Marceau. And this is a novella, very much in the vein of, well, see, I don't want to say, but it is about a mother and daughter who have a very tumultuous relationship, who they're going to spend the weekend in a cabin trying to work things out, trying to talk things out, and they get snowed in, and it's really good. The characters are interesting, very well written, goes to places I didn't expect. There was one thing that was kind of given away, I think, early on, but overall, definitely did not go the way I expected it to go. And immediately after reading this, I've already gotten 3 or 4 more things by Caitlin Marceau, and I already read another one. Then we have Aliens Vasquez by V. Castro. I think this might be controversial. I've gotten yelled at for my reviews for some of the Aliens and Predator books. Been told that I'm not a real fan because I don't know all the minutia and how these books contradict things. I don't know. I just want to be entertained. And I'm a huge fan of V. Castro. This is actually the 3rd book of hers that I read in 2022. And I could have put, one of the other ones. One was older, and I've tried to keep these all within 2022, 2021 at the earliest. But Aliens Vasquez it's a different Aliens novel. It's about the character Vasquez from the movie Aliens. We know what happens to her, but it's also about her children. So it's a generational story, and we get the background of Vasquez, and there's a lot. It's more about family and the lives of these characters, and early on it's interspersed with some xenomorph stuff. So it's this family story with some xenomorph stuff thrown in. It all connects, and then eventually, of course, as always, the shit hits the fan. But it's very well written. I like the family I like character. I don't mind an alien book, or aliens, depending, that's just running and gunning. But I do prefer well-written, well-rounded characters. V. Castro is very good at that, and Aliens Vasquez is one of my favorite Aliens novels now, and I would love to see her return to this. I have seen her post on social media that she wants to write Predator, so I want to see that. She's another author. She writes it. I'm going to pick it up. And then finally, the number 10, again, no particular order, just sort of as I went through the list. But the last thing I have marked down is The Dismembered by Jonathan Janz. Another fantastic author. I'll pick up and read anything the guy writes. And this is his gothic horror story. Takes place back in the day, the Gothic times. What is it, late 19th century? I don't remember exactly the year. But he hits those classic Gothic horror notes, but also gets down and dirty and bloody and violent and grotesque. So I think it's a nice mix of that spooky, tension-filled, foggy Gothic horror and some extreme craziness. And so that was one of my favorites. I really, really liked The Dismembered by Jonathan Janz. So that's 10 books. Excuse me. Now, I'm going to look over this list. You're gonna get to sit there and watch me kind of scan this list, because I'm going to have some honorable mention kinds of things. Right off the bat, we're just going to look at the first book that I finished in January of 2022 was The Maleficent 7 by Cameron Johnston. And I really enjoyed this book. It was from Angry Robot. It was a lot of fun. It's a fantasy, and it's about 7 villainous characters who end up coming together to fight a worse evil. So you've got 7 evil characters who used to work together, but they dispersed, and now they're back to fight an even greater evil. But they also, of course, they're still evil characters. Some of them have their own agendas. I think they all probably have their own agendas. It was a lot of fun. A very dark but fun fantasy. All right. And then, since I'm looking at it, the second book that I read in 2022, very disappointing. It was the novelization of Reanimator by Jeff Rovin. And I think I gave this 2 stars on Goodreads. The extra material that he put in was pretty good. There's some extra character development. There's some little extra scenes here and there. And that was interesting. But the stuff that was actually stuff you'd see in the movie, I felt was incredibly poorly written. And so, yeah, it fell flat for me. All right, so just throw those out. Those were the first 2. Something I really enjoyed. I think I gave it 4 out of 5, and then something I gave 2 out of 5. So, looking through, let's see. The Fun House by Dean Koontz. This is a novelization, sort of the movie The Fun House from the 80s. Dean Koontz initially wrote it under his pen name, Owen West, and the first 7/8 of the book are all Dean Koontz material. Maybe it's a little less than that, but you don't get to the movie part. You don't get to the events of the movie until way, way late in the book. He builds this whole story that has nothing to do with what went on in the movie. And then when he does get to the movie part, he makes some pretty big changes. So, as opposed to Reanimator, this, I thought, worked as... I mean, it's more than a novelization. It's barely a novelization, but it worked. I'm not a big Dean Koontz fan. Monster, She Wrote, a nonfiction book. Great source to learn about female writers from way back. The earliest female horror writers up to some of the most modern at the time it was published. Really good. If it was from 2022, I might have put it on the top 10. Man, a lot of great authors had stuff come out. Lisa Quigley had a new book. Ali Say. Is it Say? I can't remember now. Oh, that's horrible. Renee Miller. I really dig Renee Miller's stuff. Gretchen Felker Martin had Manhunt. I don't recall if that was 2022 or 2021. I really enjoyed it, but just not enough. The others for me that I chose were a bit better. And then again, I'm just kind of looking through here. We got some Keelan Patrick Burke, which is good. Nico Bell. I read a few books in the Rewind or Die series that were all a lot of fun, and I didn't see a lot of. There's one from the Splatter Western from Unnerving. Right? No. Death's Head Press. Unnerving is Rewind or Die. Death's Head Press is a Splatter Western. Christine Morgan's The Night Silver River Run Red, which was really good. But I think that's the only Splatter Western I read. That's crazy. But a lot of Rewind or Die. Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Bazterrica. No idea if that's even close to how you pronounce her name. I read this because of my series, My Favorite Horror With. Armand Rosamilia chose this book, and it's fantastic. It's about a world where all animals have become poison, and so certain humans are now cattle, and we're following a guy that works for a slaughterhouse. I read The Exorcist for the first time because No, why? F. Paul Wilson. I figured like it was F. Paul Wilson. I told him I would read it because I interviewed him, and I promised that I would read The Exorcist before the end of the year. Fantastic book. I should have tagged this. I think my favorite nonfiction book, and there were a few really, really good ones, but Sausages, The Making of Dog Soldiers by Janine Pipe from Encyclopocalypse. Just a great behind-the-scenes look at one of my favorite werewolf movies, Dog Soldiers, and it's from a fan. You can feel Janine Pipe's love for that movie coming through the pages, but it's still, she's a professional, it's well written, it's informative, but you can feel the love. And I love the movie too. The Legacy of Molly Southbourne by Tate Thompson finishes off the trilogy that I didn't know was a trilogy. It was a pretty satisfying ending. And let's see. 20th anniversary screening by Jeff Strand. Quick little novella that I think won an award. Just throw that out there. You're Mine by Summer Cannon. Great book about two witches in love, but then things go bad. I swear there were other things. It was so hard. This probably would have been number 11 or 12. Please Don't Tap on the Glass and Other Tales of the Melancholy and Grotesque by Mike Lombardo. A great short story collection with a great presentation. The book is horizontal instead of vertical. I mean, you read it vertically, but the cover, it's a fish tank, and it's their story notes, which I love, and it's a peek. You're getting to know Mike Lombardo when you read these stories and the story notes. But it's a fantastic collection. I would love to see Mike Lombardo's a filmmaker. I would love to see more of his prose fiction. Connor and Cornfield 2, Friendo Lives by Adam Cesare, or Caesar. It was good stuff. Good slasher stuff, a good sequel. And I think maybe I like the first one a little bit better. But again, that's just a matter of degrees. It's still a good book. It's a young adult. And then a bunch of Halloween stuff during September, actually, started early. Brings us to another one of the nonfiction books that I really liked, The Science of Witchcraft by Meg Hoftel and Kelly Florence, part of their Science of series. I've read all of them. Can't wait for the next one. This is the newest, and it's just really, I really like their books of tidbits of knowledge, for lack of a better way to put it. They take media, be it mainly movies, some TV shows, sometimes it's a book, and they use that as a springboard to just talk about things. And you never know what they might, where a certain piece of media will take them. Because, you're reading about, trying to think of something specific. But let's just say, I don't think it's in here because they did The Witch in a different book. But let's just say The Witch is their springboard. But then what they end up talking about is the disease that the corn had that destroyed the crops. Instead of talking about the witch or the supernatural or Black Phillip or this or that, they go this way instead of this way. Sometimes takes me by surprise, and I enjoy that. I've interviewed them a couple of times. I'd like to talk to them, get a little more in depth about how they choose which thing from this movie or this TV show, which thing they're going to sort of focus on and tell us about. All right. Oh, one of my little thingamabobs moved. Or did it? Did I forget something? I don't know. But we're looking. Okay. I mean, some fun stuff here. Every time we meet at the Dairy Queen, your whole fucking face explodes by Carlton Mellick III. Probably title of the year, except it didn't come out this year. But my favorite title for something I read this year, and it was a fun book. Oh, this one. I was going to do this for Best Extreme Horror, or my favorite extreme horror, and that was Chainsaw Hooker by Judith Sonnet. It is over the top and offensive and gross, but she still manages to give us character development and make us care about the characters we should care about, despise the characters we should despise, and it's all wrapped up in a great cover, disgusting story, violent and vile, but with character. And I really, really enjoyed it. That was the first of Judith Sonnets that I read, and I have read 2 others since then. That was in November, and I read 2 more. Wait, is that? Yeah, that was in November. I read 2 more before the end of the year. Excuse me. And I'm definitely getting more. Let's see. So, 3 Days in the Pink Tower by Evie Knight. Whew. Disturbing, because it's, what was it? Autofiction? Autobiographical fiction. And it's about a horrible, horrible thing that happened to the author. Fictionalized. I compared it in my review to, as far as subject matter or the feelings, whatever, to The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum. Very powerful story. Well written, but not for the faint of heart. And then, looking through. You know what? Let's throw this out. Oh, yeah. I haven't posted my review of this yet. So I am not going to mention it. But there is a book. The review is coming up very soon. There's a very fun, funny, crazy, over the top Christmas horror novella that I read that I really, really enjoyed. And that's it. Okay, so that's just me glancing through my notebook. There you go. My top 10 books of 2022. I think they came out in 2022, but I read them in 2022. And my favorite comic, my favorite game, board game, my favorite movies. Some shout outs. I think that covers it. So, of course, let me know what your favorites were in 2022. What was your favorite movie? What was your favorite book? TV show? Anything else? Oh, let's throw this out there. My favorite new to me podcast is Too Scary Didn't Watch with Emily, Henley, and Sammy. Emily and Henley are too scared to watch scary movies. Sammy, although they make exceptions, Sammy is the brave one. She watches them. It's a horror movie recap show. So generally, Sammy watches the movie and then she tells it to Emily and Henley. They have a cocktail hour, so before the movie starts, or before the description of the movie starts, they'll have a themed cocktail recipe that they will give you. They have guests. Paul F. Tompkins, one of my favorite podcast guests. He has plenty of his own podcasts, but when he's guesting on stuff, absolutely love that guy. But I was looking for new podcasts to listen to at work, found this one, and I've been plowing through the old episodes. I started at the beginning. There were a few I've skipped because, this is a spoiler podcast. They tell you the whole movie. And while there are some movies I'd like to see, but I don't care that much if it's spoiled, I've listened to those episodes. But there's some movies that I have not seen, I don't want spoiled, so I have skipped those episodes. But I still think I have like a year's worth of episodes, or close to it to listen to. And really, really, really love Too Scary Didn't Watch. Okay, so back to you. What are your favorite things of 2022? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. I don't know what would be spoiling, but post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. All the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, is Eric Smith 5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. That's all I have for you. So until next year, until the next video, read more books.